Anybody need, you know the stuff we were working on last week, please? The mushrooms? Yes, yeah. Well, you should last time.
Like this kind of.
No.
I already have.
It's basically like
Last week you took it.
but not as nice, not as done as well. Like the heels a bit not the right height, and the straps maybe not in the right place. That makes sense.
As in what you want or what you find?
I'm just
Well, what you
teasing
find
you.
is it doesn't look right. Like it's maybe too short or too tall or it's too. Yeah, I think maybe I just don't have the right feet for it.
But this style where it's like kind of a closed.
Yeah, I like
love
that, but I can't. I've never found anyone to like.
True words. True words for us.
I don't know if able to pull it off though.
I think anyone who, can pull those shoes, they're amazing. I have a pair that I wore for grad, and by the end of the puppy was so sore. It was really bad. Because it's so much. I wore flats for grad. The outer heels, but it has, because it's like this, has such a steep like arch, like there's not a lot of support, so your feet is literally like on your toes but not.
Have you
But a lot.
Yes.
Have you got
But they
this thing
look-
with the mushrooms from last week?
So,
Yes.
Okay.
Cereal bowl. Because we got them, my grandmother stopped. And we were spent
And I was probably going to sleep.
sorry?
No, I'm just saying, and I was probably going to sleep. Spoke to you then. Okay. Let's get started. Okay, so let's have a look at this, the first recipe. Okay, so recipes are extremely, recipe books, if you can get work doing them, they're actually quite demanding, but they certainly teach you how to do consistency editing in an amazing way. And the nice thing about them is if the recipes are nice and you can try them out at home, which is quite fun. So we don't have many publishers producing recipes anymore. Strake has kind of cornered the market again. They used to do a whole lot of books on South Africa and the various aspects of it, the mountains, the shores, the architecture, the this, the that, and they produce beautiful books, coffee table books. But they now have specialized in the cookery, so if it interests you to do that, I suggest that you approach their department and see if you can do, offer to do editing for them, freelance. And see, you never know, you might just get in. It's more interesting than a lot of other texts, because there's a nice product at the end. And there are all sorts of nice tips, and some people write really well, and then if you're involved, sometimes they involve you in the shoots, the dishes and all of that. So it's very specialized work and very nice. And then you have to write captions for them anyway. So I just think it's nice. It's nice trying to get in, even if it takes you years to actually get in. I think it's worth starting to get in and see how far you can get. Okay, so they don't make fantastic sales, so it's not like a hugely lucrative kind of publishing, but it's high status. Okay, so what would you check for if you were doing recipes as you go along? In terms of content, what would you be looking at?
That the measurement units are consistent.
Yes. Okay, consistent use of units. else? Consistent use of abbreviations or full-out forms. And everybody who does cookery books has got a slightly different style, so that they end up having a slightly different look here.
I'm saying then the numbers or words, so if you say 2, or is it going to be 2?
Yes.
And when that gets to higher numbers.
Yes, and I can tell you it can get so confusing actually once you get out of the actual ingredients list and into the general text. I mean, I'm doing one at the moment. We had an endless discussion the other day about, do you know how we want the numbers to look in the actual text? Not even the method, because there's ingredients and then there's the method and then there's introductions, little snippets here and there, and what do you do? And eventually we took the coward's way out. We said we'll have it all as numbers. Unless it started the beginning of a sentence, okay? Because the author has given us so much grief already, and we thought, we've had it. Actually, we don't care at this stage. We just want to get it done. And then she sent me yet another chapter that she had partly rewritten, and I thought, good for us. We made the right decision. So sometimes you just have to go with whatever's going to... It doesn't look bad. I mean, none of it looks terrible. But I just thought it looked better before. But then there was, when an author rewrites, and it's very hard to keep consistency in a book like that, because they will inevitably introduce new errors. Okay, what else? In terms of content? We've just done a whole lot of different books, so I thought let's talk about this.
I'll think about the way you word the sentences. Are you going to be short and choppy, or are you going to be very detailed?
Okay, so when would you allow, so is there a happy medium? Maybe, but I like your hesitation, because in fact, with that kind of text, it's easier to just go with a wordy author who adds in little bits here and little adjectives here and there and adverbs, and that's the way they write. So you trim them down a bit, so you've got that. That's her style. But then you're doing everybody a disservice in a way. I mean, whose disservice is it? Okay, so it gives it a distinct voice. It's that person's voice, how they handle cooking. But what's the downside?
Maybe too many words.
Yeah, but why would it be too many words?
Well, the reader is just looking for...
Yeah, so how do you usually use a cookery book? It's fun if you're reading it for bedtime stories, like a lot of people do.
Right.
Because a lot of people do enjoy just reading recipe books at night to relax, okay. But
Right. As a reader,
as a follower, as a person using it to cook,
I'm just looking for instruction.
yeah, you're looking for the
Straight to the
shortest,
point, yeah.
okay, to the point, okay. So that means sentences that aren't necessarily full,
Right.
okay, you cut out lots of articles, you might cut out, so and, some, and all those kinds of things might fall away. Okay, so what else?
I think that, I don't know if this is just my opinion, but like ordering the list as it appears in the method.
Absolutely. They've got to be in the same order. Okay. And then sometimes you've got the meat, and then you've got the gravy, or the pudding and the sauce, and they might have separate lists of ingredients. Okay, so ordering it as you would like to do it if you're cooking it and if you're making it. Okay, yes, good. Okay, and what else? What about your method? Yeah, method. So having the ingredients in the right sequence and checking the ingredients against the method to make sure that every ingredient that is in the list is used.
Right.
Okay, because sometimes you've got superfluous ingredients. Or it can be an indication that the method is missing. One of the method steps is missing. Okay, what about temperatures?
use Celsius and Fahrenheit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So usually what do you give these days? Celsius and Fahrenheit and gas. Okay, cooking by gas, very popular. So how many, do you know what level of gas use that is? Okay. And also if you say preheat the oven, preheat to?
What
To
temperature?
what?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to be very specific so the person's life is made as easy as possible. There are even some books that give you shopping lists. Because I'll say, you know, you probably have this in your cupboard, but just in case you haven't, you know, that kind of stuff. Okay, just try and, I can't stand those. But they are useful in their own way. Okay, so check that nothing's missing, none of the steps is missing. What else? Heat. Okay. Then, often they'll say mix briskly or, but it won't tell you in what you're mixing it in. Okay, I want to know that I must use a small bowl or a medium bowl or a large bowl. Okay, so those kinds of things as well. So where that detail is missing, you need to raise, unless you know a lot about cooking, or you know you've done lots of cookery books and then you start knowing everything off by heart. You know it's going to be a medium bowl or something. You understand. Okay, what about units of measurement? What likely problems are there to be? Got two systems.
Grams,
Yes.
weight and volume.
Yes.
Grams and milliliters.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Don't mix the two. Yeah. What else? There's an old system.
Yeah.
Okay. The old British system, which is still the American system. Yeah, ounces and things. Okay. So the book I've got now, she chops and changes all the time. So I let her do this because there's no way. I mean, we've got 100,000 rand to do the entire book. Her pictures are horrible, so we're having to reshoot. The nightmare. That includes the printing, the cover, everything. Yeah,
It's a
and
limited run.
You said
very
100,000
resistant
we were
to-
like,
I know, and this is because of a friend. Don't ever edit for a friend of a friend. Don't ever do it. You always make the wrong decisions. Okay, so I let you do it, but what I do is I supply the alternative. Okay, because that's also dead easy, and there's usually a list of equivalences that you can find on the internet, and then you just go, okay, that looks fine, reliable, and you just, so you have to supply some of the text, so that there is always that equivalence, okay? Then,
if you decide if you're going to have a paragraph form or a like step-by-step list of the instructions.
yeah, so that's your method.
Yeah.
Then there's usually an introduction.
To the recipe.
Yeah, often. I first made this, my auntie Gonda gave me this when I was a young married woman.
Skip.
It's my husband's favorite. This is a family and cookery book, so there are lots of them. A lot of people do their own, they self-publish cookery books based on their family recipes. So it's their recipes and their grandmas and auntie and their best friends through life and that kind of stuff, which is lekker, but I mean, okay. So there's lots of like memory that goes with it or context, and you've got to decide how that's going to be written and a start for that. Okay, and then of course there are going to be all the different styles in terms of markup. What is every one of those things going to look like in terms of fonts and headings and italics and bold and all of that. Okay. So, you can see why you learn consistency very sharply through that. Okay, so let's have a look at this, which is nothing like a book. Okay, so should we start with you, and you can make,
Sure.
everybody can call out something that they did. I know we worked in groups, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the very first thing that I noticed is that the title
Yeah,
is underlined.
yeah,
So I would recommend removing that
yeah.
and maybe placing the title in bold.
Yeah.
Okay. there's also some capital letters
Mm.
in the title that
Okay.
I encourage to be lowercase.
Okay. All right. So it could all be, good to have caps. Okay. Michelle, what did you have?
So for 12 large motions, we had numbers. So we
Yeah.
were going to put numbers in, be consistent and have all of them as numbers or all of them as words.
Yeah.
We chose numbers just
Definitely.
because it's easier to read.
Yeah, good. Okay. Wilson?
Can't remember which one I did. I think I did it with the
Yeah, you did the opening here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you only marked up one copy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. All right. So pass it to him.
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
thanks.
It's legible though. Yeah.
I think the measures, the quarter or in words or in symbol, that's the one.
Okay, that's fine. So you changed quarter to the actual symbol.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay. All right.
We checked on the second recipe, the
Yes.
title. I think the the E has to have,
An accent
yeah, that,
to the left.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
No.
no, two, right.
Yes, to the left if you start at the bottom,
Yeah.
and to the right if you start at the top.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we already on the second one?
Oh, no,
Okay. There's more stuff to do about first one. Yeah?
mostly was numbering, to number the.
Yeah, no, we've said that. What about your abbreviations?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not OZS, it's OZ. The abbreviation for ounces is OZ.
So remove that.
Yes?
Yeah.
4 ounces diced beef
Oh,
marrow. Okay.
yeah. And the quarter, it has to be.
Quarter, yes. Yeah. Wilson's just said that.
Oh, okay.
Then abbreviation for teaspoon?
Abbreviate teaspoon.
And how much lemon juice, like?
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Query, how much lemon juice? Okay, do you need to say 4 cloves of garlic? What's the star? 4 cloves? Garlic. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you don't use those extra words. They're really not necessary. Here's your
So
version of
would
what
the same
we were working on last time.
would the same be said of a quarter teaspoon of pepper?
Yes, quarter teaspoon pepper. You don't need half.
Okay.
Quarter TSP pepper, 4 cloves garlic, chopped. Instead of having things in brackets sometimes, you can have them just as a comma. 4 cloves garlic, comma, chopped. That's also acceptable. Okay. Anything else? And if you're going to give ounces in grams, it's 1.67 grams. Okay, that would be added in afterwards. 4 ounces. In brackets afterwards, 1.67 or 1.7 grams. That's good enough. You don't have to go to 2 decimal points. You really don't. Okay, but there's something that you left out.
We changed the order.
The order, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
So of the method. Change
Yes.
the order of the method.
Okay, what did you do?
So have a pan half full of boiling water. Obviously you would do that first. So the water could boil before you start cleaning the mushrooms and removing the stems. And then we also said that we should put it in point form because it's easier to read and follow.
Yeah.
And then, so it was,
Would you break up that first long point?
yes, we did.
Yeah.
So we said have ready a pan, but we rephrased that as well. And then the second point was clean mushrooms and remove stems, and then the third was add the lemon juice and then the mushrooms to the boiling water. And then the fourth was remove them after 4 minutes and then drain and keep warm.
Okay.
And then we went like that, so we broke up that very long sentence in the...
Yeah, but did you break, you don't need to break it up into 5 things, hey?
No, it was...
Yeah. 3. Is that right? 2 or 3?
So,
Yes.
where there are full stops,
Okay.
we left those, but the long sentence we broke into 2.
Okay, all right. So all I'm saying is don't break into too many things, so that you then have lots and lots and lots of tiny little steps. Okay, you don't want that either. Okay, good. What about anything else? Yes.
What about this?
No, hold on. We're going around the clock.
25 olives
Yes.
is really weird. It's 25 olives. They're the same amount, like, an amount of olives.
Yeah, like,
I'm not counting 25 olives.
I've seen these olives like quite a few times. Yeah. I think it's hard to give a weight because then you have to specify. Is it 10 grams pitted olives or 10 grams olives with their pits? Okay, so
Which are with weight and pitted olives as well, I agree.
yeah, so I'd want to know what it is. Maybe they're filled olives, those nice ones with little pepperoni things in the middle. Yeah. So I think you need to be, and that's often used in cooking. So, you know, a lack of specificity, I would say. Sloppy writing.
This is too much specificity.
But okay, but the recipe says chopped though, so I think it would be 25 filled with the seeds in, or pitted or unpitted.
I don't know, you have to worry about it now.
Because do you think someone's
You
going to
know,
chop with the seeds?
The thing is, you've got to understand the psychology of your reader in a cookery text, okay? Because you might be making this for a special dinner, and now you are going, oh shit, what olives do I actually
What happens if
need?
you buy a pack and there's only like 30, I mean not 30, 20s in there.
And,
You can buy 5 more olives.
then you've got to decide, can this dish do a little bit less of an
When
olivey
you start
flavor?
counting them in the pick and pay. You see the little stupid package.
Okay.
We're standing in the shop like with the packet, like squeezing it like...
Okay. What else in the method? Anything else in the method that you noted?
Some of it doesn't make sense. Like they say remove the mushrooms after 4 minutes, and then it says drain and keep warm. If the mushrooms are out, what are you draining and keeping warm after that?
You're supposed to have a hot tray in your oven. You know, it's one of those. It's made for... They assume that you've either got a tray in your oven or whatever. Okay.
But also it was a bit redundant. So remove them after 4 minutes, drain and keep warm. You could say remove after 4 minutes and keep warm because you've already moved them, there's no more water, and then keep them warm in a hot tray.
Well, I suppose it's all very sloppy. I think it's horrible. Yeah. Okay. Combine the remaining ingredients, fill the mushroom caps, and put into a shallow dish. Bake at Mark 8.
Yeah, what
Okay,
is
Mark
that?
8, that's gas.
Okay.
That's
Mark.
very high. Okay, Mark 8. Yeah. Mark is, and then what you check here. How do you normally write Mark 8? Okay. So they've only got the gas option, all right, which is a problem, but you can just put in the equivalents from your table yourself. So as usual, you know, the editor is doing a lot more than editing. Okay, Mark often takes a capital M. And then these measurements are normally divided by a slash. So much Celsius, so much Fahrenheit. Okay, so you've got these dividers. Okay, the good thing about editing is you can always go and peek at what other cookbooks do, and then you can find your way. Okay. Serve on their own with bread and butter, comma, or as a vegetable with veal or steak. think you need that comma. Okay, champignon. Okay, there's something missing. There's still something missing.
I have one.
Uh-huh.
The text was indented. There we go. That one. So we said that it should all be, we made them points, but we said that they must all start at the same point.
Yeah, I agree. Good.
Also serving size?
Yes, servings, thank you. Okay, serves.
They're also missing the anchovies.
Oh, the anchovies nowhere to be found. Oh, no, but it just says combine the remaining ingredients.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. But I think it's helpful to say combine this and that, and then do that. Okay.
Please, do we also say serve as a vegetable?
Yeah.
You say that, not public stew.
I would say side.
What do you? Vegetable is ingredient. So to say serve as a vegetable.
You mean it's a vegetable already?
Yeah, that is what it reads, line
Okay.
15.
Okay, so, yeah. All right, so wait. Sorry, can we just go back to these blinking mushrooms? Okay, Anti says, why are we saying or as a vegetable? Because it is a vegetable. Because I think what they were trying to say, serve on their own with bread and butter. So they're saying as a main course. That's what they were trying to say. You either serve it as a main course or as a, or together with the steak. Good. So it is redundant, yeah. Okay. All right, so we decided that it serves 4 when we were working on it together, right? Because we had 12. And we divided it between, we decided large mushrooms, 3 per person is enough, so we put in serves 4. Okay,
I have a
but you
question.
would have to.
Concerning serve on their own.
No.
Serving it on their own with something seems
Yeah.
a bit.
Yes, it's not well expressed, and that's why I said that it was more of a story of. Guys, why has everybody got the giggles so hard? Hey?
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, serve on their own. Yes, the whole way of saying it is like a bit. Yeah, it could just be serve with bread or butter.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm saying.
good, no, good. You both spotted redundancies there. You're right. Doesn't need to be as a vegetable. If you want to say something as a side dish, that's fine. Okay, let's move on from these ridiculous things. Okay, champignon à la bordelaise. Bold, huh? We made our first one bold. Serves 4. Yeah? Who's next? Okay.
Okay, well, I don't see anything here in the first
Okay.
one.
So what did you do with your serves 4 for the first one? Did you have the number 4 or the word 4? Okay. So serves 4. Okay, that's cool. It could be one of the places where you decide to use words instead of numbers. Okay. Okay, so 12 large mushrooms, parsley. Good. Quantity. Okay, chopped.
But it does if you read the
Half the
weight
weight.
them and half the weight of the chopped parsley. Weight them.
But what is the weight? That's why it's
Of the
important.
mushrooms. So weigh the mushrooms, then half the weight of the mushrooms is the weight of the
And
parsley.
add half the weight of cherry.
But Nancy, I don't want to do math.
No, you want to know, like, yeah, I agree. But the fact that it's, so you don't want a colon there, you want the same style. So parsley, comma, chopped, or parsley, take out the thing and open the brackets and close the brackets. Okay, like you had above.
Oh, okay. With the garlic.
Yeah, it matches. Okay, 1 clove garlic, breadcrumbs. Again, it doesn't really tell you how much. Then 4 ounces. Ounces is now given in full, but we're using abbreviations. So it's OZ, 4 OZ. butter. Don't need of 2 tablespoons.
The
Okay.
abbreviation for tablespoons.
Yeah, there's various abbreviations for tablespoons. So I usually go for the shorter one, which is TBSPS. Okay, sauce espagnole, why is it underlined?
Because it's not in.
Because it needs to be in italics.
Yeah.
Remember, it's the old proofreading way of doing things. Okay, so sauce espagnole is in italics. Okay, and where is the sauce espagnole? Is it somewhere else in the book?
And maybe the glossary?
Oh yeah, as a sauce recipe in a separate section.
Okay, all right. And what do you think of this 2 columns for the ingredients? Yes.
I think it's a cool idea if you have really complex recipes, but then you should have a fixed number that goes on one side. So this one would probably also then
Be longer
two
and then,
columns.
yeah, that shorter. But I must say with most ingredient lists, I think they're just easier to go through
Straight
in a
down.
single.
One list,
Yeah.
but then you'd have recipes that are like pages long.
No, that's maybe right. I'm saying with most of them. Okay. But I agree. So a very complicated recipe. Unless you break it up like, like for the main this and then for the sauce and then for the glazing, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Then you split up your list, which makes it easier.
So question, concerning the last point on the list, salt, pepper, and nutmeg, should these be separate? And should the quantities be specified?
Well, I think you could say salt and pepper to taste.
Oh, okay.
But nutmeg is a very strong spice, so I think there should be a very definite, exact quantity. Okay. See, editors are needed everywhere. Okay. Okay. Weigh them and add half the weight of chopped parsley. Yeah, but you need to know. This sounds like a super bunch of parsley. Okay, so it doesn't finish that. Okay. All right, so this is just useful in terms of practicing the consistency issue. Okay, so need to concentrate now. So we're going to start with you. Can you remember? We did it together. We had this one and this one.
Oh, the pairing, right?
The pairing, yeah, to see what's inconsistent. You didn't have to say what you would choose. It's here.
Okay, we have the ball,
Yes.
which we indicate. That's number 1. When you get to the second paragraph, the 5th word is also the ball.
Yeah, line.
Yes, in fact, it's line 10. Thank you. And then we have 7th, as in the date format.
Okay, well, let's just go from person to person. Okay, so the first ball is cap and the second one is?
Lowercase.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So a choice has to be made there.
Okay, so what would the choice be? What would you choose? They say don't choose, but I'm choosing.
Lowercase, because we used to
Yeah,
have
it
and
doesn't
this is
seem
a
like a proper
specific
noun,
thing
yeah.
called like the masquerade ball. And that's the name of the ball.
Right.
Yes, I agree. But it depends on whether you're giving it importance or not. So very much in the past, giving importance you've done through capitalization. Less so now. Okay. But I agree with you if it had a proper name. Okay. Or like even the spring ball or the autumn ball or something like that. Then more likely. Okay. Then as you said, Ella, the next one was dates. So what did we have there?
Oh, right.
7th June 8th.
Right, 7th June and then June 8th.
Yeah, so 7th June.
Yeah. 7th June and June 8th, okay. So what did we say through classes that the best date to use to make life easy for ourselves?
Isn't it actually 8 June?
Yeah, 8 June. Okay. So you would just say on
Wait,
7
8
June?
June or June 8th?
No, on 8
On
in
June.
South Africa we got 8 June.
Yeah, no, sorry.
But yeah.
Okay, if you were in the States, in the States they use lots of different formats for dates, okay? And you've kind of got to be practiced at all of them. But you've just got to be consistent. Okay, then the next one.
We noticed with like professor and then there's colonel and doctor, they all have different punctuation.
Yeah.
So we noticed that pairing. So, and also with the punctuation of the initials.
Okay.
The space.
So what have you noticed?
So for Professor D.H. Hunter, and then you have Dr. Helen Waterman. So it's not her initial, it's her name.
Yeah, good. Okay. Then what else? What else about the initials?
And there's a space between V and
Yes,
C.
spaced or not spaced. What about the abbreviations?
So
What is the
Professor
rule?
It needs a full stop.
Do they all need a full stop? Why does professor need a full stop?
Because it's abbreviated on the full word.
Yes, okay. So if your abbreviation ends in the same letter as the full word, you don't need it. So colonel, which is actually colonel, okay, ends in an L, so you don't need it. But professor ends in an R, so you do need a full stop. Okay, and that's your rule, and it just stands you in very good stead, just apply it blindly.
Wait, so colonel, yes, professor, no.
Yeah.
Other way around.
No, professor, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Colonel,
So then doctor
no.
would be no.
No.
Okay.
And Mr., what would you do if you follow that rule here?
No.
No. Mr., okay, also not. All right. I just find it, terribly easy if you just follow that blindly. Okay.
Is there a resource that has these rules?
Yes, your rules, if you look in your New Hearts rules, you find all of that in there.
Cool.
Okay. For photos, see, okay, sorry, next person.
In the brackets, they said P6 and then they said page 2.
Yes.
Abbreviation.
Okay, so here again, page is one of these abbreviations that tends to take a full stop, right? Because it doesn't end. Okay, pages also. Okay, PP. Okay, so you'll very often find. Look, another trend these days is what? No, PG has never been, and we were taught that at school here. And I use PG all through my university thing, but it's actually, I haven't found it in any book as a proper abbreviation. So that's what teachers taught us here, PG. So forget about PG if you're editing. Otherwise, if you're writing notes for yourself, it's fine. Okay.
Can I ask before we move on from the pages?
Yes.
So it goes Professor P.H. Hunter and his wife, and then Colonel V.C. White and his wife, Dr. Helen Waterman. But, oh wait, never mind.
Would you change Helen
Never mind.
to H? Dr. H? Huh?
Dr. H. Waterman?
Yeah, why would you?
Because to give her the same importance as this.
Exactly. I mean, there they are with their double initials. Okay. So my thing would be to pick up the phone and say, sorry, what's your second initial? She might not have one. But at least, why differentiate? Okay. Okay, so...
Would you do the same with Mark? Or?
Yes, I think so, because...
Yeah, it's
because... Yeah, for the same reason.
Would you remove the Mr., considering that you have D.H. Hunter? Or?
No, it's prof.
Yes.
He's got a title. Colonel, they've all got title.
Gotcha.
At least she's Dr. Helen Waterman. Okay, it's not
Okay.
so bad. Okay, so, yeah, well spotted. Good. Okay, so Mr. doesn't need a full stop. Okay, but I was saying, despite this rule, which is very nice to follow and is actually the most it fits the best across all systems. Okay. What is the tendency?
To place the period or full stop.
To get rid of it.
Oh.
Stop altogether. Okay, so just as a lot of things have gone to, I'm just saying it's a developing trend. Okay. Some people get fancy. If the abbreviation is in the main text, then it has the full stop. If it's in brackets afterwards, it doesn't have it anymore. So they'll like say, in the text they'll go I, E, I, full stop, E, full stop. And then in the bracket, because it's kind of an aside, just I-E. But, you know, it's crazy. So, but the tendency is to drop all of them. Okay, and we may eventually not differentiate between them anymore. Okay. So all the trends are towards less snobbishness about language in a way. Okay, next one.
I think it's like numbering because it says in one party of 6, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it matters if one is a word and the other is.
Yeah. Okay, so should you be consistent here?
Yes.
Yes, why?
Makes for a better reading experience.
What's the rule generally that applies throughout? Numbers 1 to 9 or numbers 1 to 10? Written out in full.
Cool.
Okay, so my number 6 should become SIX.
Don't you think though that sometimes, you know, if it's like 1 to 20, it looks a bit strange when there's the letter and the number?
Well, it's only 1 to 20 for novels, for some kinds of fiction, usually.
No, I mean, if it's if it's still 1 to 10 that is the word, but then they're indicating something that's 1 to 20. So now you have 1 the word and then 20 the number. It looks a bit odd.
It does. So you are fully within your rights to bring them in line with each other. Okay. All right, but here they look odd because they're not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. And then the normal trend would be just to use words. Okay, so 1 to 20. I'm stuck now. I can't remember what it was used in. It's so long ago that I would look at that. Actually, novels are usually 1 to 100 spelled out. Fiction. 1 to 100. Okay. I can't remember if 1 to 20 was banking, but I don't think so. Something else. Anyway. All right. Okay, next one. And tell me.
I'm not sure where you are.
We are at Elizabethan times.
Okay, because I am looking at the last paragraph right now.
No, we'll look at the second paragraph and tell me what you notice there. Okay, what style of English are we following? So-called?
We'll recognize as
UK. We did discuss this, and I said actually what's called American, what's called British. What's called American used to be British, you know, but it fell out of favour, and then it was just in favour with Oxford University Press, and then now it's making a big comeback in the UK, the Z form. Okay, but we still talk about it that way, even though the whole thing is incorrect and everybody's got it wrong. Okay, so Z, recognized, and what would we do here? We'd go for an S, recognized with an S, not a Z. Okay, and where's the other one that gives problems? Well, one that's different? Which line?
Vandalization.
Where was our S form in this passage?
Line 5.
No, the one that's not as S.
Oh,
where
that's
was
not
it?
an S.
Yeah,
That is an S.
that is an S and isn't a Z.
Oh,
Isn't
I don't think I caught
it's
that.
vandalization. That one line.
Okay, what
Yeah,
line is this?
vandalization.
Vandalization is using an S.
Where?
Gotcha.
Vandalization, line
Line
18.
Yeah. First word.
Okay, so if you were editing a manuscript for an American publisher, and a lot of people are doing that, I notice, more and more. There's a lot of editing of American stuff by South African editors. You'd have to go recognized and vandalization also with a Z, right? Okay. There are some words that take S, whether in American or British English, and they're all in your Heart's rules. So if you're wondering about that, got some lovely examples and a wonderful table in that book. Okay, next one.
Percentage. This one it says 40%. That is line
Where's that?
130.
Line 13.
13. Okay, no, you've missed other things. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about the stuff that doesn't apply. In another party, you close up the space between party and the comma. Then you...
What line is that?
6. Then in front of some drunken young men, you insert a space. Okay, so close up space, insert space.
So that there's a space there.
Began playing havoc halfway through the evening. Halfway is?
One word. No hyphen.
It's hyphenated and
I don't think we found a pair for it.
didn't find a pair.
The right pair at the bottom has got its own.
Yeah.
Okay, but halfway is different, eh? Okay, so we didn't find an equivalent. I agree. Okay, the subsequent actions close up the space, not close up the space, but reduce the space. Okay, so it's that little umbrella symbol, remember? The little foot with a little umbrella top for reduce space. Not close up space, reduce space.
What's close up space then again?
Yes,
Oh, the
two.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I put
When
them
you
all
join
somewhere.
them, you actually join them.
Okay. The umbrella.
Okay. When they left the ball, okay, they rampaged on to wreak vengeance on the flower beds of the public park nearby. Okay, so I had to check. What are you going to have to do with the text like this? It's very old-fashioned, isn't it? And it's a hyphenation. Okay, now there's still lots of authors who write like this, because that's how they learned English years and years ago at school. Lots of hyphenation. Okay, so you're actually going to have to check that,
Flower
because
bed.
a lot of these have fallen away. Flower beds is fine. They attack the glorious array of azaleas, rhododendrons, and roses. Anything there? What do you notice in your list? Oxford comma. Okay, the comma before the and. Is there another place where we don't have it? No, there is actually.
Oh, the list of names.
Where?
The list of names, I think, in line. What is this, 2? Following Mark Stewart and numerous other luminaries.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Mark Stewart, and there's no comma before the and. Okay, so Dr. So there you are. No Oxford comma and Oxford comma. Okay. All right. Well spotted. Council workmen arriving on the morning, oh, we've done that already. 40%, and that's where we had started. There we were. We are finally at the 40%. Yes?
So I was saying line 13 says 40% as in a percentage is written percent,
Yes.
whereas line 20 shows it as a sign.
Good. Okay. So what about the percent? Symbol, by the way, it's spaced here. 10 space percent. Is this normal? It's not always. Okay, so sometimes there is no space. So if they look different, if you've got a whole lot of symbols for percent, you'll have to check. Which one are you going to use? Do you want to move? Or are you enjoying the sun? Okay. All right.
So between the two, which do you recommend?
You look like a cat. Go ahead.
I don't recommend anything.
Oh, okay.
I think, let me tell you what I think. I think often if it's in the text and there's a space, you don't notice it. But the minute you've got these sides in a column, in a table, it looks very, very weird when there's a space there. You kind of expect the number and the percentage to be kind of together. Okay, so I would say that house style would be important there, and also whether it's a mathematical book or not. Okay, so have a look for Hart's rules for general stuff. But yeah. Okay, what about percent as 2 words?
No.
No, what about, yeah? Is it right or wrong? It's right. Okay, so percent closed up is the American way, and the British way is 2 words.
Okay.
Okay, put a little tick next to that.
No, we
Okay.
always use that, the American way here in South Africa.
No, we don't. That's what we don't do. We don't use the American way.
Well, that's what I do.
Well, if you got your own rule, why are you asking? Okay. All right.
And the spelling of 40?
Yeah, good. Have we got 2 40s in here?
No, this is
Okay. Okay, so 40 is without a U.
In British? In English spelling?
English spelling. In all English spelling.
The spelling 40 on my whole.
I know. That's what happened to me when I came to university and I wrote my first essay. And I was very proud of it and very proud of our spelling. And then this lecture room, F-R-I-T-Y, big exclamation mark. And I thought, you are so wrong, woman. What the hell are you doing to my beautiful essay? So, yeah, it can take years to get rid of. It's like accommodation. It's like getting the 2 seasons to end. Sometimes it's very difficult. Okay, underline. Very old-fashioned, hey? We don't do that anymore. 1 word.
No hyphen.
I don't know for how many years it's already been like that. Anyway, of the pitch battle which had developed during the night was the well-known antagonism. Well, you've got well-known,
Yeah, well done, yeah.
and then the line underneath it, you've got long-suffering. So you've got hyphens and then you've got no hyphen, but they're doing the same thing. So forget about underlying, it's 1 word. Ratepayer has also become 1 word. So, but antagonism, so well-known and long-suffering are performing the same role in a sentence. They are adjectival forms. Well-known describes antagonism. What kind of antagonism? Well-known. So you insert a hyphen, so that's right. What kind of ratepayer? A long-suffering ratepayer. So long suffering should also be hyphenated.
So,
A
can you
lot of
explain that,
hyphens are falling away,
uh,
but I wouldn't just drop them all because I've seen the results of being lazy about it. People like to give them up because they don't understand why they should be there. But it actually puts your units of sense together and it helps you make sense of the sentence. Not particularly in these sentences, but in some sentences you don't have them there, you don't know what word belongs with what.
So can you explain that adjectival component again?
It's just an adjective is a word that describes a noun. Okay, so you've got the noun antagonism.
Yes.
It's an abstract noun.
Yes.
Okay.
Colleges?
What sort? Well known. Okay. Then ratepayer, what sort are we talking about? Happy ratepayer, long suffering.
Adjectival
Okay.
hyphen.
Yeah.
ratepayer.
Would you drop the hyphen in ratepayer?
Absolutely, it's out of the dictionary completely.
Okay. That's interesting. Adjectival hyphen.
And don't forget that, you know, it's so easy to actually just get online with the Oxford Dictionary and just, you have it on your screen and then you just put in the words as they come up. It's dead easy. And another wonderful thing about it is it tells you what the pronunciation is. So you just click underneath it and then it tells you exactly what the pronunciation is. So a very nice resource. And it's quite, especially with long words, it's quite interesting to see how you've been mispronouncing them forever.
So I have a question
Yeah,
concerning colleges in that sentence.
yes.
So in line 16, it's
Yeah.
lowercase, but in line 19, college is
Yes.
spelled with a capital C.
Mm.
So is that apparent?
No, you've got two colleges in the same line.
Yes.
You've got college authorities, the college can only accept. And then you've got university. Okay, so that's another instance of well, are we calling it the college or are we calling it the university?
Right.
Okay, and whatever we call it, are we capitalizing it or not? Okay. So it depends whether you are kind of thinking of the college and the university as like an important institution or whether you're not. I would say I would capitalize it a bit. Because it is important in the context. Okay, so other people? Anything? Okay, what about in inverted commas in that sentence?
The one, the college has only one,
Yes.
and then
Single.
university is double.
Yeah, good
Okay,
catch, good
university has got double, and they're not playing any different role, hey? And this whole thing, so, and it's not a quote within a quote or anything like that. It's just plain straightforward, so go for the simplest. Although, if this is from a newspaper, it's likely to have double. Okay, anything that makes reading, so whenever you've got very small prints, and I think I told you that long ago, let's say you've got a learner's book and then you've got a teacher's guide, and the teacher's guide's produced on with tiny font. Okay, because you don't want to use that much paper producing it, so you're trying to cut your costs. You probably will have double. It just makes it easy to pick up when you've got a text done in a tiny font. Okay, but everybody's got their own rules about this. Everybody's got their own preferences. And then there's a crazy system where, I can't even remember it. It's madness. Just choose one or the other. If you're using double and you've got a quote within a quote, your quote within a quote will have single. And if you're using singles, your quote within a quote will have double. That's all. And what happens in a set-off quotation?
Indentation takes place.
Yeah, and you have indentation, you might have a different font. So what happens to your inverted commas?
They,
They fall away, thank you. But what if there was a quote within a quote?
Then a quote in the quote would have
The double.
The inverted commas? Or, I don't know. That's a double. A quote within a quote within a quote.
If the quote within a quote before it was set off was double,
then a
and
quote
you've now
within a
dropped a
quote
quote,
would be single.
so you go to single, yeah.
Ah.
Okay, because you've done away with a layer, so now it reverts to the other one.
But now not everyone is seeing, because now we've removed the double from the beginning.
Yes, but you
Right.
know that it's a quote.
Yeah.
You
Yes, but
read the indentation as a quote. So it's just to show you that there's a quote within a quote.
yes,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, if I had edited it, you wouldn't see that the first quote that wasn't indented didn't have, or did have double. So you wouldn't know that because that was double, it's now single. You would just see that it's single and not indented.
Ooh.
What I
Quite
see
meta,
is that
That was a turn.
That's a,
what I see is that there's an indented quote and it's a quote, and within that there's a quote.
Okay.
That's all I need to know. Okay. Okay. So guys, all right. Ratepayers here was one word, which is right, and we've already done page 2. So, right. So what have you got to say about consistency? Oh, I'm so lucky. I haven't had a nosebleed yet. Please, can you, who hasn't signed the register? Come and pass it down, please. Okay, so are you totally intimidated by this?
yeah. It requires a lot of careful consideration.
Yeah.
You have to be
Yeah,
very
but it becomes
meticulous.
automatic after a while.
Yeah.
So by the time you've done your 15th mushroom recipe, and those olives, you phoned the author about those olives. You really have. You really have phoned.
Yeah.
And you sorted it out. Okay.
This is all the menus are boring.
Doesn't matter, it's a
They
learning
don't make you
exercise.
hungry.
No, no. No, I think that they were well chosen.
No, totally.
No, what I meant is there are no photos.
No.
Ah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now I want to discuss with you something that I gave you the reading about, okay? And I just want us to talk about it and say, okay, so we're talking about how much editing should you do? Okay, so the rule is you don't make work for yourself. If it's not needed, you don't do it. But how do you know whether it's needed or not? Okay, so just remembering from your reading, what would make an intensive edit? Okay, so there's a light edit, and there's a medium edit, and there's an intensive edit. But they've also got all sorts of other names. Okay. And I'll give you some of those other names next time, because Merle could not make this copy for me. Oh, he's actually used heavy. Okay. Light, medium, heavy. That seems to be the simplest one. But there's kind of the structural editing and intensive editing, and editing for meaning, editing for structure, okay, all that kind of thing. So normally heavy editing, what do we mean by heavy editing? Okay, so that is the answer for South Africa, actually. We do a lot of rewriting. We do. Okay? For various reasons, which you looked at in your assignment. We do a lot of rewriting. Okay. But there is a difference between rewriting and heavy editing. So, just think of a circumstance when you would think that your heavy editing is justified.
When the author isn't a first language English speaker.
Okay, when the author isn't a first language speaker.
And the author is not literate,
Not?
not educated, unschooled.
Yes. Okay. There are a lot of people writing for schools who are not very well educated. Thank you. So what sorts of mistakes would they be making?
Spelling.
Content.
Spelling.
Spelling, yeah. But spelling, like, I don't consider correcting spelling a heavy edit. Why not?
Sentence structure.
Because we've got machines now that pick up so much of it. Sentence structure, yeah. Okay. What else?
Active and passive, first and third person. What's the name for it? Indented and...
Okay, so you've got language, you've got structure, you've got knowledge, content. If you have to attend to all of those things at the same time, it is a heavy edit. Okay, so don't make work for yourself is the rule. Okay, just as the rule for doctors is do not cause harm. Okay, so for an editor, do not make work for yourself. So when would you be justified? You need to think in terms of who your readership is, the time you've got. That's why I gave you that reading.
Right. Maybe like the production schedule, or considering that.
And does it ultimately really affect the work and how it's received or not?
Okay, so let's go through this reading. That's what people have done. Okay, so here are useful things to consider when deciding on the level of editing required. Why the book was commissioned or accepted by the publisher. Okay, so the publisher sees it as having value. Okay, so why do they see it as having value? Okay, and usually to find out what they think of it, why they think it has value, can be found in the reader's report. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is to get your bearings in an edit and to decide how much work you're going to do. It's very useful if you have the reader's report and if you can ask for it. You often don't get it, okay?
What exactly
Ask
is
for
a
it.
reader's report?
A reader's report, reader takes the manuscript and says pluses, minuses, weighing them up, what I think. Actually, this book is great. It's just not for the readership it was intended for. It's been written for children, but it's actually a fairy tale for adults. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's got value, but the market is right, or the market is not right. All those kinds of things. So you need to know something about your manuscript and how the company views it. All right. So the reader's report is crucial in deciding what level. How does the company view this? Does it view it as a major investment? Does it think it's going to make a lot of money from this? Okay. The quality of the author's writing, obviously. Logic, structured content, development, clarity of meaning, clarity of intention, originality, beauty, brevity, accessibility, completeness. These are all aspects. How far have all these things been achieved? Okay, the intended target audience. Remembering that accessible content is now seen as a human right. Okay, so if you are editing a document for a company that has hire purchase agreements, you're going to spend more time, more care. Okay. How the book will be used by the reader. And I've got here school workbooks in the lower grades. Okay, what happens to those workbooks? Do they get handed over from learner to learner? They're workbooks. They get filled in. Okay, yes, using a pencil or a pen, so they are a one-off. Okay, so maybe you won't go to so much trouble, or maybe you'll go to a lot of trouble because you'll say, but it's got to be right. Okay, so how does your company view that? How important is it? They don't even have a proper cover, most of them. They've got a plain little cardboard cover. Sometimes even a paper cover. I've seen some books produced in China that have got, and in India, that have got plain paper covers because it's rock bottom costs, okay? And I don't see why people should have an amazing cover when it's you know, you do it and then you take it home if you're proud of it. And if you're not, you put it in the dustbin. So, okay, how much prior knowledge the reader can be assumed to have? Why is that important?
If you need to explain everything or...
Yeah. Do you need to put in extra stuff and explain everything? Or ask the author to supply extra information or not? Production schedule. Okay. How would that have an impact on how much editing you do?
It depends on how much time you have. Yeah.
How long you have? When you want to be selling it? Okay.
So like the shorter, like if you have a very short space of time, you can't do any
Okay. All right. But can you stretch it? Can you sometimes stretch? Spend more time on editing? How would you do that? We've discussed it before.
Submit the artwork and stuff
Good.
requirements beforehand.
Okay, good. So get your artwork done even before you start on your edits. I know it's a big call because you've got to look through your manuscript to make sure that everything adds up. But with most textbooks you can do that. With a lot of even adult material you can do that. Okay, the type of publication: textbook, reference work, article for travel magazine, scholarly book, youth fiction, novel, company report, article for peer-reviewed scientific journal, dictionary, in-house newsletter, advertising pamphlet, public education pamphlet. Okay, so the less ephemeral it is, what's ephemeral? There's actually a thing called
Transitory.
ephemeral publishing, okay? Yeah, not
Magazine.
meant to last long.
Newspaper.
Short life, okay? Okay, so the opposite of kind of encyclopedia. But even now, I mean, the fact that we can reproduce materials and update materials so easily almost creates more ephemeral books. Okay, so you can say that in the past, an encyclopedia would have been the opposite of ephemeral, because it would have been expected to sit on the shelves of your children from when they were 8 to when they were adults, basically. Okay. Whereas now, there are these updates all the time. Okay. So, less care is taken. You can see, if you look at Britannica, what it offers you compared to what it used to offer you. But it's more up to date. That is the advantage. Okay, how important the author is to the client.
That's a little bit mean.
But true.
A friend of a friend.
True. But true. Okay, so it depends on your publisher. Is this a young author who's brand new and who needs to be... The machines are taking over. The little squeaky squeaks. Okay, so do you want to nurture the author, and then will you do a very careful edit, very careful assessment, edit? Or are you saying, you know, good enough is good enough, we can't afford this? Okay, reputation of your client. Some publishers pride themselves. Who works for Chicano?
You're talking about the
Chicano's editing is really not the greatest in some books.
It's the time.
Yeah,
they're given. They
but
just
you
want to
publish
have
so
enough
many books.
I mean, it's like 80 books a year. It's because there's 9 publishers. Too many. There's too many publishers for the production team.
When you say publishers, you mean what, like imprints or?
no,
There's
No.
imprints and
Managers.
there's internal publishers as well.
commissioning editors.
So you have like custom staging post, publishing director, junior publishers, there's 2 of those, and you have Blackbird, MF Books.
Oh, so you've got imprints,
Yeah, and
lots of imprints,
2
and
imprints.
how many publishers? Oh, 2 imprints.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 imprints. Well, yeah, 2 imprints, and then you have custom and staging posts that kind of operate on their own, but they still use the facilities at work.
Wow.
Is there freelance there?
Some of the stuff, but you have to justify having a production.
Okay. But, all right, so, but as a customer, it puts me off. Okay. Because quite often I will pick up a book and then I think, well, it's interesting, but I don't feel like it's been read and loved.
And
Before
some of
I
them,
read it.
there's one of the
I want it to have
publishers
been read and loved.
to only allow a certain demographic to edit her books. So at work we have two art females and an Indian lady editing the work, and she refuses for them to edit her work. So that's another thing. So she'll get like developing editors. So the entire process from beginning to end is, I don't know,
Slower.
yeah. So she wants it the way she wants it. So the editors are too scared to edit her work.
So does she use freelancers? Is she the person who published Banan's book?
Oh,
I was waiting for the name. I was waiting for the name drop. Like.
Banan's book is not as bad as people made out. It really isn't. So a lot of people wrote such rubbish on there. Really. Such rubbish.
Voice that was coming through and people didn't like that.
Yeah, but you know that many terrible errors. Okay, so if you consider that your books are perfect products, or you're going to sell them as such, then you have to decide. Either you keep up that reputation and your editors edit in a certain way, or you let it slide because you want more money, or it's the only way you can actually survive, or whatever. Okay, so it's good to try, as an editor, it's good to try to speak to actually the managing editor, or even the publisher if you can, but usually you won't come face to face with your publisher. But just try and get a history and where it fits in the market and all that kind of stuff, because if you don't have that, you cannot make decisions about how quickly or how deeply or all of those kinds of things. Okay. Sometimes an author wants a book to be edited very, very carefully. Okay, I've worked with authors like that. They tend to be excellent authors. You want excellent editing. They're not threatened by the editing process. They see the editor as another pair of eyes, very valuable in making them a special author. And they will want that kind of work from you. They won't be happy if they don't get it. So another aspect of how you do things. And then sometimes if I know that my author is not interested in answering queries, couldn't really care less, once the job's handed in, it's not their problem anymore. I'm not going to get answers to queries. I can't find them quickly on the internet. What might I do?
rewrite.
Make executive decisions.
Yeah, which you shouldn't be doing, but sometimes you have to. Okay, because you can't get an answer out of the author, you can't get an author out of the managing editor. And what seemed like a big problem cannot be solved. So the only thing you can do is write a memo, and that's it.
Does that happen a lot with novels and non-fiction?
It doesn't happen so much with novels. It's more like business reports and things like that. Because there's this whole chain of command and nobody knows who's going to find the answer. So sometimes they actually pull all that information together right at the end. They actually get all the engineers or whoever it is into a room, and then they read through it, and then they actually fill in the stuff. But really, the day it goes before it goes to print. And you, as the editor, you've got to say, you've got to raise it as a query, you raise it again as a query. By the third time, you can just say to whoever's in charge, I'm not getting answers, this is where I'm not getting answers. And that's it. You've got to walk away from it. If they don't do it, it doesn't get done. Okay, so yes, quite often you have to edit at a slightly business reports, things that are under pressure, things that have got to be brought out very, very quickly. You do have to walk away from. You have to raise the stuff, but then you've got to forget about it. So otherwise it won't come out and there'll be nothing there. The size of the first print run and the likelihood of further print runs. like current affair business. So let's say you've got, let's take Trump. Okay, so you want to do a quick book on Trump and his involvement in shady business. Okay. And you've got someone who knows the story and who writes it, but you know that it's a developing story. So you want to bring it out, okay, but it's a developing story. So some people will buy it, but you're only going to print, let's say, 5,000 copies. But you know that as it develops and gains momentum and there's more stuff coming out from other countries and whatever, that it's going to develop into something substantial, which may then have a much more substantial print run. Okay, so there might be a difference in the way that you edit. Maybe the first quick one has got to come out now for interest and less careful editing. But you may, as you prepare your second edition, re-edit.
But then, won't people who bought the first one not want to buy it if it's not edited well?
They just want the story. So a lot of books that come out, you find have got quite a few mistakes.
But
Not
you just said for
always.
yourself that you don't really like books that aren't edited well.
No, I don't. But I mean, I'll understand that if something comes out, I might not buy it. I might wait for it to develop into something better. But what I'm saying is, as the editor, well, you might be forced to work really quickly. And then you're going to have to say, okay, well, because it's got to come out, there's a market now, you know, and then later it's going to be improved on. Okay, so that's when you get different print runs. And of course, what about Harry Potter? Eh? I don't know how carefully the first one was edited. Hopefully it was lovingly edited. First one where they did that tiny print run, and then they had to do a massive one. All right. So whether the editorial brief calls for a light edit or proofread, and then ask the editor for structural intervention, intensive fact-checking, more accessible language, and doing a full markup for the typesetter. Okay, so your brief, what will you do then? Remember we said discuss what you were asked to do, explain what it involves in terms of time and in terms of costs. If you're expected to check illustrations as part of the job, it's more, and if you're being asked to check calculations, depending on the level, it's more. So the reason I'm raising it is last time we had a look at rates, okay, and then it's always this. How much do you do or not do, and how much do you charge? And if you do the sums, and it works out to something much bigger than your client had envisaged, probably, you need to raise your hand and say, hi. Okay. It's the endless perennial question that happens in editing, and it's not comfortable. Okay. But there are so many factors that impact. You might say, well, you know, it's like a huge book. It's like 500 pages, but it's beautifully written. Or I feel I can trust the content, because every time I check on something, it's right. The person's obviously done his or her homework. Then there's a trade-off. The pleasure of working on something that's really nice and worth it, that you think is, you know, something special, or not. Okay, so I want to hand out that's it. So good luck with your editing, because that's not a thing that you ever resolve. It's a thing that happens every time. How much do you do? Endless time is not something that we get much of anymore. Okay, where did I put? So So I'm handing out your exam assignment.
There we go.
The first one is the text, which is not long.
Alright. Okay. Which is not quite long.
It's in English. And it's not bad.
Hope it's in English.
You got some pictures.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the.
There it is. Okay. Let's talk about it.
I'm so tired of editing.
Oh yeah.
That's what I do now. I'm a copy editor, so I'm tired.
Sorry, you must ask for a couple of days off.
Yeah.
So that you're not doing it in the day and then at night, because it's just too unbearable.
You were talking about that following up on authors. I emailed someone about 10 times, and then when they replied, they were like, but I don't understand.
Yeah. It's not a peaceful occupation
No.
that you think it is. Actually, when you edit, you've got all these emotions churning inside you. A lot of the time, you hate your author, you love your author, you forgive your author, you're now angry again.
Mine's lecturers, not even editing exam papers and assignments and study guides and so
Work for work. Well, yeah.
for Pearson Institute.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the dazzling job.
No, it's
Did you get an experience though?
Yeah, no, it's really good. I get to chase after like 80 people, and I have to type
When did
typeset
you
as
get
well.
this job?
They were looking for people, and I applied. Yeah,
Okay.
it's quite a.
I'm so glad. I am doing a job for Chicana. It's actually, no, it's a complete rewrite. It's
Wow.
plain language. You see the original manuscript.
But the problem is how they choose manuscripts. That, to me, needs to be resolved. Not just because for me...
No, but you know what? The financials were discussed before the manuscript was in.
Wow.
Way
But
before.
like, with an author, like, you know, you do that pitch to publication. An author doesn't always equal a good public speaker, or vice versa. So choosing an author solely on that is very difficult. It's very tricky. So, but
This is what we're writing on. We would hand this back to you eventually, right?
Mm.
Could we possibly get an electronic one?
If you promise not to share it.
Okay. Maybe you can give it to us like next week or something.
No, I'm happy to send it to you. So what I've said here is that you can do it on hard copy. I think it's easier and faster on hard copy for an exam.
I want a spare one that I can scribble all over.
Yes,
yeah, I like
yes,
doing it.
yes. No. So I'll send you that. That's fine. I couldn't really ask Mel to do 2 copies.
Or maybe I could just have
And I also like
But I imagine
that.
But you want us to hand in the hard copy though, like...
No, I prefer a hard copy, and I think a hard copy is easier to work on for an exam. Okay, but some people will prefer to work on screen, and I'm going to accept those as well. As long as at the end of it I get a printout of that, plus a printout with all the changes accepted. Because that worked fine for me last time, or 2 years ago. Okay, so it's up to you. For me,
scribble all over one of them. And then
yeah,
one
no,
each.
absolutely, that's fine. I'm happy to send them. I need to send them to Vivian and Nadia anyway, so I've got them.
What do you mean by assessment of what was learned during edit? For master students?
Just what this particular edit has taught you. It probably will take you to places where you can't see straight away.
Okay.
It's not, nothing enormous, okay. Okay. It's just a little thing, and I'm going to say to you something. Okay, so I've given you the text. Okay. I've given you the description of the skills that I want you to look at. So spend the rest of the time now looking at it. Next week we will meet. You'll have had a better look. And I will send you also, because of the honor students and the master students, I always have to, have a difference in the assignments. And really, at some level, it's a bit artificial. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you either edit the thing or you don't. You either edit the copy or you don't. But I have to, because that's the way that it's structured. And then I was thinking, well, how do I want to break up the marks? And I will send you that in the next couple of days, how I'm going to break up the marks for honors and for masters. Okay. So, but how much time do we have left now?
25 minutes. 25 minutes.
I'm really tired from this nosebleed, so I'm happy not to do the whole thing.
We can go through it. I don't know, because we did say we have that one lecture that we're going to have afterwards.
And that's next Wednesday, right?
But I think just have a quick look now, and let's,
The lecture that was specifically organized to go through
that's
the
next
assignments
week.
is next week.
Yeah. I think you need to digest it.
Yeah.
Yes,
But I mean,
take
just
some
see
time.
now quickly, have you got any immediate questions? And then we can close at 5:45.
My one is just
Hey, and my favorite person isn't here to say, it's 5:45.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to know, is this a combination of the markup we did as well, the electronic markup? So we are also saying...
I will
that
give you
this-
feedback next time on your electronic markup as well.
Okay, so this is...
Okay.
So we do look at the headings and go, this must be
Yes.
in A.
Okay, but it's not as structured.
Okay.
So if you think, in terms of the markup, if you think of what kind of book it is, oh, bloody hell. Okay, it's, the format I'm thinking of for big book is like this. Okay, and maybe a little bit longer here. So it's a nice big book that you can pick up, and it's full of lovely big pictures. Okay, so for example, it's not full of this kind of picture. Okay, the maps are big. It's encyclopedic in a way. Okay, if you read the description. So that affects the way that you write up the artwork brief and all that kind of stuff.
So when you say begin to get the chapter ready for production, you
I mean mark up the headings. Okay, but so here, in the kind of thing that you did, it was A, followed by B, and then there were C's under them. Okay, and then there were lots of flag headings. If you look at this text, you're actually going to be asking yourself, is this a A heading or is this a B heading? And a lot of the time, it could be anything, because if you think of the way that these books are structured, there's a bit of text here with a heading, and a bit of text there with a heading, and the artwork, and you're not asked to organize that stuff. Okay, somebody else will worry about that. But if you think about it, it's not like one under the other so much. It's like topic, topic, topic. It's more like that.
More
So
scattered.
actually, it means that the headings are pretty much all the same up to a point. Okay, so heading is a heading in a way. Okay, so if you go to the library and you look on the shelves of when you were little or whatever, or you look at any kind of book in the bookstore that is meant as a sort of small encyclopedia, you will see that there's that kind of approach. It's not like having chapter heading 18 and A heading 16 and B heading 14 and C heading 12. Do you know what I mean? All the headings are like, oh, here's an aspect of it, and here's another aspect, and here's a little something about what the currents do all over the world as an extra, and here's a little bit about lighthouses on the coast, and here's something about this special animal called a bubble, what's it called? Bubble raft snail. It's the best part of the manuscript. It just tells you about a bubble raft snails. They drift on the ocean, they're purple. They make little rafts for themselves. They're astounding.
Just confirm, do we need to do an artwork brief for this?
Yes.
Where is it going?
Yes.
Really? Yeah. it
And then
doesn't
would
say.
you like it in a specific
Yes,
way?
I would like a format. But it's just a table, and you say number, kind, like photograph, drawing, electronic artwork, graphs, whatever.
Do you want to give us the table that you want filled in?
I can, but it's so boring.
If you could,
But it could be a
that'd
benefit to us,
it
though.
could be helpful. Just that we know all the aspects that you, because
I have listed them there.
And the
I have
content and
listed
structural
them.
edit?
No, I've listed them.
I would not spend a minute under 16 hours.
I wouldn't. There's a lot of work to be done, but some people are faster than me. So. It's under illustrations. Book of this kind requires very generous illustrations. The authors have not made full use of the budget for illustrations in this chapter, and you need to add another 5 illustrations to those already listed. This will affect your figure numbers in the text and in the artwork brief. I'm giving you standard things that you do as an editor in a publishing house, okay? And you do this kind of stuff all the time. The authors have not submitted a proper brief, and you will have to do this on their behalf. Remember to cover topic, format, photo, drawings, computer-generated artwork, rough size, orientation, and whether or not a reference has been provided. Provide extra references wherever you can. Remember that most illustrations cost less than many photographs. So what I'm saying is, don't have everything photographs, because that's a very expensive way of going about your artwork brief.
is artwork, illustrations, how do you reference illustrations if someone was specifically commissioned to draw them for that book?
You give them an example. Okay, so here the authors have done a poor job of supplying references, right?
There are none at all.
Well, no, it's not none at all.
I didn't see.
Yeah. These are references. All these things at the back of the thing are references of the kind. So you've got a reference of all the currents, and you've got a reference of the Great Current Conveyor Belt, and you've got a reference of a rocky shore, and you've got examples, 2 illustrations for the bubble raft snail.
Okay, so these are references.
Yeah, these are references.
I thought these were just images. I thought a reference was like maybe communicate where this image originates.
Yes, that's what I thought as well.
No,
Then what do you mean by reference?
no, I mean what you want it to look like.
Oh.
Okay, that's all I mean. So reference is purely a visual reference.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking
Okay.
academic reference.
Okay.
Wait, yeah, I was thinking academic.
No, no. And don't worry at all about paying for copyright and all that kind of thing. Just
Okay.
assume, I've said just assume that somebody's going to do that for you.
Oh, so,
Okay.
Okay.
Unless in your brief you say, okay, I've given you a reference. It's from Heinemann Chemistry for postgraduates, whatever, and then I want you to reproduce it exactly like that. But then you have to say, reference will have to be sought from Heinemann. Okay, permission, sorry, not, okay, permission will have to be sought from Heinemann. So if you're asking for an exact copy, it can't happen, okay. But these are just ideas of what you kind of want. So this one for the little bubble raft snail, you've got a picture of the snail with its bubbles, and here you've got a picture of the snail eating a blue bottle. Okay, so that's just 2 that we're given. But be careful, okay? Is this really the kind of net that is being discussed?
The kind of what?
Net.
Net.
Fishing net that is being discussed or
Have
not?
to read the text.
These little drawings are in colour in the original, so we'll get them in colour.
Is that what you're
So we
looking
got a lot of
at?
work. Got our work cut out for us.
Okay, but the authors haven't supplied enough. They haven't used the artwork to full effect because you want heavily illustrated stuff for this. Okay, so there are extra things that you can look at the text and you can say, "Well, it'd be nice to have something on that." Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or well, you could make this more meaningful if you showed whatever. Okay,
Question.
so yes,
Concerning the glossary that we have to
yeah.
submit, must we reference where we get our definitions?
No, I want you to rewrite the definitions so they don't have to be referenced. I want you to be coming up with your own definitions. And I said to you last time you can use different things. And remember I said to you, you probably, before you're satisfied with your definitions, and it's one of the biggest skills for an editor, before you're satisfied you probably have looked at, remember, teachers' material on the internet, dictionary things, sometimes dictionaries that are meant for younger children, not adult dictionaries. Yeah. Okay, it's only 10 for those. And then
Yeah, 10 for honors, 15
10 for honors, 15 for the rest of it. Yeah, it's quite a tall order now.
No, I just didn't hear what you said. I wasn't
Yeah.
questioning. I just
No, I just got a bit tall order now.
The distinction between warm and cold currency, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, well, you can have a look at your text and you can decide whether it's important or not. Because maybe the reference is a lazy reference, do you understand?
Okay.
So, authors often supply lazy references that do not help you. Okay, I would look at that net carefully.
So you
It's
don't-
called a sane net, same person net.
Same person.
Yeah, is that a same person net? Well, it's a kind of sane net, I'm not sure. I'm just giving you one thing, but, you know, and this, the whole thing is specific to South Africa, right? Is this a South African thing? It may be, I don't know. Okay, so this is just to give you the basic idea, but I will check all these references. Are they actually correct?
Is this someone who's actually sent you something? Did you make this up or is it actual
No,
someone
it's a
sent you?
mixture of things.
Oh.
It was a bit short.
I was just wondering because you said don't share it, so I thought it might be like that other
No, they
guys.
are. It's partly from it. Yes, it is like these others, so don't share it. There is like, yeah.
Okay, well,
I had a wonderful manuscript months ago, but then they decided not to publish it. Then because they disappointed the author, they didn't have the courage to give permission to use it. So anyway, but this is good because you don't have to worry so much about tables and graphs.
And just to confirm the due date, Monday, the 5th of November. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So for our sales and marketing class, we're coming in to hand in as well on the 8th, on that Thursday.
I
afraid-
did ours move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be a smidge tough.
I'm going to have to have it on the 5th
Okay.
because every one of them takes me a whole day to mark.
Wow. Okay.
And if I want to be ready for the external and everything, I'm going to actually have to really get them ready. Because I'm not just doing this, I'm also doing work.
No traffic.
You sure it's the 8th?
All right.
Don't worry, it's the 8th. Okay. Of November.
Okay. Nice little challenge here.
So who changed the date?
I think our date was originally like the 12th,
12, yeah.
but then it was moved to the 5th and then it was moved to the 8th. So give us more time.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah,
get
they were
yours to
both
you.
So now, okay, so they're much
Yes.
more close together.
No, but I think
Does it
it's
matter
fine.
or not? Is it okay?
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm just asking because really, you know, it would be nice if lecturers could talk to other lecturers about these things.
I don't think there's any extra time because everything has to be into Colleen by 12. So you can't really.
We'll get it to you by the 5th.
It's
3:30.
difficult to change the
I
date.
can't do it by the 12th.
Yeah, that's why I think that's why they pushed it to the 8th.
So when are you, so when is she marking out?
I'm not actually sure. I think everything has to go to Bill halfway through November.